In our headlines on this Wednesday, August 12th, here in South Korea. North Korea launches yet another ballistic missile toward the East Sea early this morning, escalating tensions with South Korea and the US as they prepare to launch their annual joint military exercise next Monday. Meanwhile, President Lee Jae-myung is placing 7 high-tech sectors at the heart of South Korea's next growth strategy, calling for investments in small modular reactors, a domestic moon mission, and quantum computing. Also, on the local front, overall employment in July expands by its largest in 4 months, but South Korea's youth unemployment sees its biggest rise in 5 years. We start here on the Korean Peninsula today with news of yet another ballistic missile launched by Pyongyang toward the East Sea. Our defense correspondent Park Gun-woo covers this latest launch and its broader implications.
North Korea launched a ballistic missile from coastal areas of Wonsan toward the East Sea at around 6 a.m. Wednesday. According to Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff, the missile flew over 700 kilometers, with South Korean and U.S. intelligence authorities tracking and sharing information from the early stages. Wednesday's launch came just 6 days after Pyongyang fired a short-range ballistic missile, marking its 11th such launch this year. While missiles with a range of 300 to 1,000 kilometers are typically classified as short-range, the JCS notably did not identify Wednesday's as a short-range ballistic missile. One expert says its flight characteristics point to the possibility of it being a hypersonic weapon.
There's a strong possibility a hypersonic ballistic missile was fired, or it could also be a hypersonic intermediate-range missile. The missile appears to have shown a similar flight distance and warhead trajectory as the one launched on January 4th. This could have been a test aimed at improving its hypersonic capabilities.
Another expert sees the launch as a show of force ahead of the Ulchi Freedom Shield exercise with the U.S., which begins next Monday.
The launch appears aimed at demonstrating North Korea's ability to respond ahead of the joint military exercise between South Korea and the U.S. North Korea often launches missiles before, during, or after such exercises, so there's a strong possibility of further provocations next week.
Following Wednesday's launch, the National Security Office convened an emergency security meeting, also joined by officials from the JCS, to assess the situation and review response measures. It also condemned the North's repeated launches as a violation of UN Security Council resolutions and urged Pyongyang to immediately halt further provocations. The JCS said the military maintains the capabilities and readiness to respond overwhelmingly to any provocation under a robust combined defense posture. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has warned yet again of additional North Korean troops being deployed to support the Kremlin's aggression against Kyiv. In a national address on Tuesday, President Zelenskyy said Russia's Vladimir Putin is planning to prolong the war by mobilizing more Russian soldiers as well as those from North Korea. He also accused Russia of using North Korean-made missiles in overnight attacks on Ukraine that killed 6 civilians. Earlier on Monday, Mr. Zelenskyy revealed that Russia had received additional North Korean ballistic missiles and was expanding the deployment of North Korean troops, warning that these developments could also pose a security risk to South Korea. And here at home, President Lee Jae-myung is pushing to place future industries at the center of the country's next growth strategy by identifying 7 cutting-edge technologies. Our Blue House correspondent Song Yu-jin tells us what they are.
Korea is already betting big on AI and semiconductors. But President Lee Jae-myung says the country needs to look beyond today's growth engines to technologies that could shape its economy decades from now.
최근 주목받고 있는 첨단 기술의 공통적인 특징은 기술 교체 주기가 무척 빠르다는 점, 인공지능 시대 그 다음에 먹거리를 우리가 미리 준비해야 합니다.
Chairing a meeting on Korea's long-term growth strategy on Wednesday, Lee unveiled what the government calls the SEED initiative. Short for Strategic Emerging Engines for Disruptive Innovation, it focuses on 7 fields spanning 3 broad areas: clean energy, frontier technology, and supply chain resilience.
오늘 우리가 뿌린 첨단 기술 씨앗들이 미래에는 거대한 나무로 자라나서 새로운 메가 프로젝트로 자라나게 될 것으로 믿습니다.
Among the goals are commercializing Korea's light water small modular reactor technology by 2035, landing a domestically developed spacecraft on the moon by 2030, and building a homegrown quantum computer by 2029. Korea is hardly alone in looking this far ahead. Both the United States and China have already made fields such as quantum computing and nuclear fusion national strategic priorities. But Seoul's push has an economic security dimension as well. While Korea is a manufacturing powerhouse in sectors such as semiconductors and electric vehicles, many of the materials, parts, and equipment underpinning those industries still come from abroad.
Korea accounts for just 2.3% of the semiconductor equipment market and 3% of the anode materials market for secondary batteries. In particular, 99% of the heavy rare earths used in permanent magnets, which are essential for robotics, are imported.
To reduce that vulnerability, the government plans to expand domestic refining and processing capacity, recycle critical minerals, including rare earths, and reduce reliance on any single supplier. The Lee administration says it will support the 7 initiatives with sustained funding and regulatory reforms while continuing to identify promising fields that could power the country's economy in the decades ahead. 송유진, Arirang News.
Also at the Blue House, a credential ceremony took place earlier on this Wednesday as President Lee Jae-myung received the diplomatic papers of U.S. Ambassador Michelle Steele to South Korea. The president also voiced hopes for the new ambassador to serve to bolster the alliance and to address pending bilateral matters. Steele, for her part, vowed to promote amicable partnership between Seoul and Washington. Also today, the president was presented with credentials from the ambassadors of Portugal, the UAE and Ireland. Also on the local front, employment is expanding, but young Koreans remain further behind, with youth unemployment soaring to a 5-year high. Our Kim Jun-ong has the numbers for July.
Korea recorded its biggest job gain in 4 months, adding more than 100,000 jobs in July. The Ministry of Data and Statistics said on Wednesday that the number of employed people reached 29.13 million, up 108,000 from a year earlier. Job gains continued for a second month following a 40,000 decline in May. Despite this, the total employment rate declined for a 4th consecutive month. Among those employed, health and social welfare services saw the biggest job gains, while manufacturing and construction continued to lose workers. Manufacturing jobs fell by 68,000, extending its decline to 25 months. Despite the rebound in overall job growth, employment conditions for young people worsened. Among the 15 to 29 age group, the number of employed people continued its 45-month streak of decline, dropping by 191,000. Their unemployment rate rose 1.3 percentage points to 6.8%, marking the sharpest increase in more than 5 years. The ministry pointed to persistent challenges facing young job seekers.
Korea's hiring practices have shifted toward year-round and experienced hires. This appears to be making it more challenging for young people to find jobs than in the past.
Asked why strong semiconductor-led exports have not led to better youth employment, the ministry cited the chip industry's limited job creation.
The semiconductor industry has a relatively limited impact on job creation. Since it relies heavily on large-scale investment in facilities and equipment, it contributes significantly to exports but does not generate as many jobs.
The finance ministry said it will step up efforts to keep job growth on track. The government plans to unveil a joint plan to improve employment conditions for young people. It also said a dedicated jobs task force will develop measures for struggling sectors, including manufacturing and construction. Kim Jun-ong, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, Korean Air's long-delayed takeover of Asiana Airlines is now entering its final stretch as the latter shareholders have approved the merger, paving the runway for the takeoff of an integrated carrier just 1 week ahead of Christmas Eve this year. Our Baek Joo-hee reports.
The Asiana-Korean Air merger is close to being official. According to Asiana Airlines on Wednesday, following an extraordinary meeting in Seoul, Around 99% of voting shareholders approved the integration with Korean Air. CEO of Asiana Airlines Song Bo-young described the decision as the first step toward writing a new chapter in South Korea's aviation history as a mega carrier. After closing the final meeting in Asiana's 38-year history, CEO Song added that all employees will unite to ensure a smooth transition and a meaningful conclusion to Asiana's journey. This decision brings to a close a complex integration process that began in November 2020. Since filing for merger approvals across 14 jurisdictions in January 2021, Korean Air has cleared all antitrust hurdles. After meeting key conditions, it acquired a 63.88% stake in December 2024, taking Asiana as a subsidiary. Throughout 2025, the carrier fulfilled certain requirements, selling Asiana's cargo division and relocating passenger operations to Incheon Airport's Terminal 2. With final shareholder approval secured this August, Asiana Airlines will officially dissolve on December 17th as all assets and liabilities are fully transferred to Korean Air. However, critical administrative tasks remain before the giant carrier is ready for takeoff. The highly anticipated integration of both airlines' mileage programs is still awaiting final approval from Korea's Fair Trade Commission. Also, harmonizing pilot seniority lists remains a sensitive challenge given their different recruitment standards and flight hour requirements. The success of this merger will ultimately depend on how seamlessly Korean Air resolves these operational hurdles while enhancing service quality and passenger convenience. 백주희, 아리랑 뉴스.
Taking a shower is a daily routine that most of us tend to take for granted, but for those living out on the streets, it's a luxury they cannot afford. Our Shin So-eun files this report.
In Pampo, amid the blend of old and new buildings that presents the evolving identity of Central Seoul, a city government-led initiative has become an oasis for the homeless. In the scorching summer heat, free mobile shower units provided by the Seoul Metropolitan Government, each carrying around 600 liters of water and serving roughly 20 people a day, have become a welcome source of relief. More than just a shower, the 다시서기 service offers welfare support, including new clothes, toiletries, and food at least 2 times a week.
For them, taking a shower is about more than just personal hygiene. It also helps them feel comfortable being in public spaces and gives them a sense that they can be part of the community alongside others.
According to Seoul officials, 1,577 people used the city's mobile shower services between May and the end of July this year, up more than 30% from the same period last year. At the 5 locations currently operating across Seoul, visitors appear a little shy at first, but there's also a visible sense of anticipation.
These days, going to a public bath or sauna can cost around 15,000 won, and that's not something we can easily afford. So I'm very grateful to the staff who come here and give us a place to shower for free.
Outside the shower booth, face-to-face interaction with social workers also helps visitors.
Even when the free shower service isn't operating, the social workers still come by to check on us, ask if we're having any difficulties or need anything, and provide as much support as they can.
What begins as a simple conversation can give a helping hand towards finding new opportunities in life and even employment. A simple shower can become a first point of connection, helping them identify what support they need. In that sense, mobile shower serves as a starting point towards greater independence. Shin So-eun, Arirang News.
And South Korea's professional baseball league, the KBO, has surpassed 9 million spectators this season in the fewest games ever. The KBO says the cumulative attendance hit over 9 million on Tuesday after about 67,000 fans attended 5 games nationwide. The milestone came after 505 games, 23 fewer than the previous record set last season. The league resumed on Tuesday after games were postponed last week due to the dangerous heat. The average attendance now stands at nearly 18,000 per game, up about 6% on year. Korean flavors dominated a recent food show in New York City as one celebrity chef highlighted the importance of maintaining authenticity. Our Kim So-young reports.
Edward Lee, the star chef from Netflix Culinary Class Wars, left a lasting impression with his deep love for Korean food. At the 2026 Summer Fancy Food Show in New York, North America's largest specialty food and beverage industry event, Lee emphasized that K-food is no longer just a passing trend, but is ready to take center stage in American cuisine. He cooked bulgogi and kimchi fried rice for the crowd. But his main message was about authenticity. He said K-food producers should not compromise by replacing Korean red pepper powder with ordinary chili powder. Instead, they should preserve the original recipes and bring the true taste of Korean food to the global market.
My hope is that Korean food is not just a trend, but that it becomes a permanent part of American cuisine. Gamtae, Jeju tangerine vinegar, for example. You can't grow that in the United States, and I want to honor them, so we import some of that as well.
As K-food popularity continues to grow, Korea's pavilion at the show is now far bigger than Japan's and rivals France's in scale. Kroger, which operates more than 2,700 stores across the U.S., showed strong interest in developing its own K-food brand. Central Market, a premium Texas grocery chain owned by HEB, is also looking to bring in Korean grape juice.
Nice versions of gochujang and doenjang, and everyone knows buldak, and young people it's growing a lot, obviously because of the influence of K-pop. Korean food, the Korean ingredients are easy to use.
Big food chains like Kroger and HEB are showing interest in K-food. Many discussions are now underway as they look to develop their own K-food products.
Once K-food products are sold under trusted American brand names, customers may find it much easier to pick them up and bring them home. K-food is no longer staying on the sidelines or simply carving out a niche. It is now aiming to become an everyday staple on the American dinner table. Kim So-young, Arirang News.
On the entertainment front, BTS has remained on the US Billboard's main albums and singles charts for the 20th week in a row. The group's fifth studio album, Arirang, rose one spot to rank 14th on the Billboard 200 on Tuesday. Its title track, Swim, ranked 91st on the Billboard Hot 100, marking its 20th straight week on the chart. Now, this ties BTS's own record set by Butter in 2021 for the group's longest charting song on the Hot 100. Meanwhile, the K-pop Demon Hunter soundtrack ranked 33rd on the Billboard 200, while rookie group Cortis Green Green jumped 75 spots to 39th place. In other news now, the death toll from Colombia's strongest earthquake in decades has surged past 250 as rescuers race against time to find survivors underneath the rubble. Our Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
Rescue crew in western Colombia are racing to find survivors after a powerful earthquake killed more than 250 people, according to estimates from local authorities. The 7.4 magnitude quake struck early Monday and was the strongest to hit the South American country in decades. It caused widespread destruction across Colombia's coffee-growing region, damaging or flattening apartment buildings, homes, schools, and health centers. In the hardest-hit cities, volunteers and rescue teams worked through the night using cranes, excavators, and even their bare hands to search through piles of concrete and twisted steel.
What we're doing right now is removing debris so we can bring in the dog to search for any survivors. We're waiting for them to bring in the dog and for people to help us.
Families gathered near collapsed buildings waiting for any sign that missing relatives might still be alive. The United Nations Humanitarian Office says 126 deaths had been officially confirmed as of Monday night, with nearly 1,500 people injured. But local authorities on Tuesday estimated the death toll had risen to around 254 as rescue teams reached more damaged communities and communications were gradually restored. Nearly 5,000 homes have been damaged, while dozens of buildings have collapsed and hundreds of residences have been completely destroyed. Power, Water and phone services remain disrupted in several areas, while damage to healthcare facilities is further complicating rescue efforts and aid deliveries, particularly in areas near the epicenter. 이승재, Arirang News.
This is the world now. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, more than 2,000 people have now died of Ebola. Officials said it is the fastest spreading outbreak ever recorded. The country's Public Health Institute reported on Tuesday that the death toll had reached 2,011. It has doubled from 1,000 deaths in less than a month. An outbreak in 2018 took more than a year to reach the same number of deaths. This strain, called Bundibugyo, has no approved vaccine and no approved treatment. Late detection, conflict, and overstretched hospitals have helped it spread. The World Health Organization calls it a global health emergency. In the United States, the Washington Post reported on Monday that President Donald Trump was moved off Air Force One in a catering truck last month and switched to a different plane over an Iranian threat to kill him. Trump boarded Air Force One in front of cameras in Ankara after the NATO summit. But moments later, he left it by catering truck and got on a smaller Air Force jet. Reporters and some White House staff still thought he was on board and were told to keep the window shades down. When later asked why, Trump said they were probably on a dangerous flight. Both planes landed in Britain minutes apart. The White House would not confirm the switch, saying only that many enemies have their sights on the president. In Russia, a former U.S. Marine has been released after more than 4 years in prison. President Trump said on Tuesday that Moscow had freed 32-year-old Robert Gilman for humanitarian reasons after talks with President Vladimir Putin. Gilman had been in prison since 2022. Trump said, quote, Russia asked for nobody in return and that no exchange took place. In Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo has married his longtime partner Georgina Rodriguez. The couple posted a photo of their rings on social media. They wed at a civil ceremony in a coastal town in western Portugal near the capital Lisbon. The couple has been in a relationship since 2016, having met in Madrid, where Ronaldo was a player. The 41-year-old has scored nearly 1,000 goals in his career and recently played in his 6th World Cup. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
A cool northeasterly wind has made our mornings and evenings feel much more pleasant, but daytime heat is still sticking around. Tomorrow, Seoul and Jeonju will both reach 33 degrees Celsius, but the East Coast will be a different story. Clouds and rain will move in with the easterly wind, keeping Gangneung at around 27 degrees. Through Friday, Gangwon-do Province and the east coast of Gyeongsang-buk-do Province will receive 20 to 60 millimeters of rain. And some much-needed rain is also on the way for Busan, Ulsan, and Gyeongsangnam-do Province, where 10 to 40 millimeters will fall from tomorrow. As for temperatures, Seoul will start the day at 23 degrees Celsius, Daejeon 21, and Jeju 24 degrees. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will rise to 33 degrees, Daegu 34, and Busan 31 degrees. Here in Seoul, daytime heat will continue to stick around for the next few days. And looking ahead to Monday, the substitute holiday, rain will spread across the country. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. As always, thank you for watching.